Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. You're in a team room. We have the infamous V Speed with us. I know you don't think you're infamous, but you are. So
Oh, right on,
you're
man.
well known.
Oh, that's good. That's cool. Never thought I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. So, dude, appreciate you joining us again. From what I've been hearing, you've been doing a lot of work with well, I know that I always struggle between what's a foundation, what's an association. So I don't want to mix the two up. Which one of you are you deeply involved in right now?
The association.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're
Yep.
you're El Presidente of the
Yeah, I know,
TACP
right?
Association
Crazy.
now.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, kind of stumbled into it. It's funny. Tommy, my best friend there, he had stepped down and moved into the arena, and we were going back and forth. And through my own transition and kind of bandwidth and everything else going on, it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. We had done and gotten so much momentum, just going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And when it came down to it and had an executive meeting or whatever, I was like, fine, put my name in the hat. I'll do it, kind of thing like that. So I begrudgingly, I say that loosely, but I took the position and pretty stoked that I did. And we've been building a pretty solid team, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys have got a decently sized, I don't know what your membership rate is, but I mean, you seem to be larger. I know you're larger than the CCT.
Oh, really?
So I'm pretty sure numbers wise, you guys are larger than those, but I could be talking out my ass too. I may have, I
Yeah.
have no idea what I'm talking about. So,
Well, hey, brother, me neither, because right now it's all speculative, right? I know
yeah.
last year's roundup was we had about 300 people there, 300 plus people there, which actually was a really, really great showing. Um, But one of the cool things that we're doing now with really the TACP Association is really trying to move into that next level. And we've been doing that from the past presidents have been doing that. And just incrementally, man, we're just getting more professionalized, more organized. We actually have something now, it's called a CRM, which is a customer relationship management or CRM, customer relationship management software or customer relations management matrix, whatever, that kind of stuff. But dude, essentially, it's where you can actually gather when people donate or when people connect with us, or different people that we have that are key people. We can actually track information, I don't know, your mailing address, so we can send out cards, or we can send out emails, or whatever, that kind of stuff. Where we can actually really engage with our community, which I think is huge, man. It's just letting
Nice.
people know that we care about them, and also just being transparent, sharing what we're trying to get after, what we're trying to do, and really work on that communication piece.
Well,
So
so that's a good point. Like, what does the association, and I don't mean to say like, what would you say you do here? That's not what I'm going
we
for.
take
I
complaints
just,
from the customers and we give
yeah,
them to the engineers,
yeah.
right? No,
I'm a people
yeah,
person.
I'm a people person.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the association does a lot of immediate needs. I think it really kind of the 911 button for members out there. We're the immediate needs. So if a guy or gal is needing help with getting a plane ticket or funeral support, that kind of stuff like that, we're there to really help them out. Whereas the foundation, they take kind of more of the gold star long term things. Now, what's great though is we've got a really good collaboration going on with the foundation. So we're trying to really delineate and kind of agree, okay, hey, this is going to be our lane, this will be your lane, and kind of work through that and really refine that. We've loosely had that over the years, but just really kind of codifying it, because you know how it is, man. If there's any gray there, then you kind of have to spend, a couple hours talking oh, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? Well, let me go talk to my people. You talk to your people. And
Yeah.
we just want to have a clear cut, just marching order and direction of what we're getting after and how we're going to help out the community. But, really association, we do a lot of things helping out, sending members to go do different support, different, holistic, some PTSD support, that kind of thing has been a huge thing. We've been kicking off and doing a lot of resilience. We want to we've only done one so far, and that was from gents down in Georgia. We had a really cool trip down there, but really just we're trying to do things of how do we give back? What do we do? What's kind of the return on investment for the TACP community? And that's really we really want to define that, because I sat down with a good friend of mine, Jeremy Mullins, and he's like, dude, our ASOS, and he's a guard ASOS. He's like, our ASOS we've contributed tens of thousands of dollars to the TACP Association. And, although we don't need money per se, or we don't need a direct return on investment, but what's in it for us? How does this help us out? Not too many of our individuals are needing the support that say an active duty guy or gal may need. And so, that really kind of struck a nerve, man. I was like, dang, that's a really good point. How are we directly helping out? So that's what we're looking at. I think I was sharing with you before through text about this. Like, how are we setting up our members to be successful before they even get out, right? I know last time I was on, I was talking a lot about like Air Force Special Warfare TAP and everything
Yeah.
else along those lines, man. And that program was going in a great direction, but dude, just the bandwidth of trying to do all that, do those the conferences, the classes, the different things we were trying to do, put it out there. It's just bandwidth issues is really what it boils down to. And so what we're looking at and kind of re-engaging is how do we do this where we don't even need to worry about TAP program. Yeah, we don't even need to worry about doing the, one day, sit in there one day when you're, 18 months, 6 months out, 1 month out, that kind of thing. Like, how do we set people up for success while they're still in? And
Yeah.
that's really kind of getting to that like operator engagement program that we're looking at doing.
Yeah, it's and maybe for the audience they don't really relate to it just because they're, a lot of them aren't serving yet or whatever, but
Sure.
we do have a lot of members, and I'll just say Air Force members, and I think
Mhm.
this spans across all of the DoD, but
Yeah.
um, that they don't set themselves up for success, whether it's, hey, I'm going to do a 4 year enlistment and then bounce, or I'm going to do 20 years, 25 years and then bounce. Like they typically don't do a good job of setting themselves up. And that's not to mean like, okay, I'm going to scam the system or I'm going to do something like that. But listen, the DoD and the US government has essentially rented your body,
Hmm.
rented your life for however many years, and there are ways to help compensate that. And a lot of time, and I'm not even talking about like, VA claims and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about like we get in this bubble, and we think that it's all about, the EPBs or the enlisted performance briefs or the
Sure.
old EPRs. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
there's a new acronym now,
Oh,
but
nice. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
not read in and I'm
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I'm okay
yeah.
with
I'm okay with that.
it.
Yeah. So
1 February will be 1 February will be when you're officially retired. And dude, it does. It gets sweeter each day.
yeah,
So, but
sure.
yeah. Yeah.
So, we live in this bubble and we get so used to dealing with this that we don't know we struggle to integrate into the private sector. Um,
Dude, yeah.
so that's why TAPS is so important. And that's why programs like, and I'll plug a couple others.
Yeah.
You've got the Honor Foundation, you got Special
Huge
Operations
one.
Transition Foundation, you've got, Air Force Special Warfare TAPS. Um,
Yeah.
because we've noticed a need that we hasn't been filled, and we're trying to set
Right.
everybody up on a good trajectory.
Yeah, and that's spot on, right? Like, and those programs, oh man, I can't say enough about the Honor Foundation. I love them. Our program is it's not a replacement program. It's kind of more of like a feeder program. Like, hey, here's the resources. At least start here and start working and going in this direction. Um, but I tell you, man, like whenever I look back and I reflect on it, like even myself, I'm about to turn 40 this year. I did 21 years total time frame, got some bonuses along the way. I've had some houses along the way and that kind of stuff. I wish I would have had like a solid financial advisor to sit down with me going, hey, little brother, don't sell your houses. Instead of spending your money on this, why don't you spend your money on that? Why don't you set yourself up for success that way? And, I was sharing this kind of concept that we're looking at and looking at, putting in and implementing with one of my old airmen and good friend of mine. And I was like, hey, man, like, ran the ideas by him. He's like, yeah, that would be great. He's like, because I'm debt free. I'm contributing to TSP monthly. And I'm like, okay, I should go to this, specific Air Force base and they have a financial counseling and advising. So he goes there, sits down with the guy, and the guy's like, dude, you're debt free. You're doing all this other stuff. Just keep contributing to TSP. And he's like, okay, like I can do that, but like this is your financial advising. And I'm like, yeah, it's probably like a GS 4, 5, or 7, maybe. Who knows what the kind of GS position in. If they were rich, then they would have probably not be doing that job. If that makes any sense. Looks like one of my lights just turned off too.
Yeah.
So um, either I made a good point or I didn't make a good point. I don't
Yeah.
know yet. But no. So I'm like, if I'm going to go learn to play golf, right? I'm not going to learn to play golf from somebody who plays, a little bit of golf. I'm going to learn to play golf from somebody who's actually really, really good. And I'm going to try to get the best. I'm like, so when I look at our TAP program, I'm like, okay, why don't we posture ourselves early on in the career and get our airmen set up early on in the career where we sit down with them when we start offering financial opportunities and financial classes. We start offering them like some things to think about beyond that piece because it's a fine balance, right? Like to your point, we're in the mission, that bubble that we're in, mission, mission, mission. We want them to be focused on being able to kick ass, take
Mm-hmm.
names, and do what they got to do. But at some point, that uniform is going to come off, and why wait until you're 18 months? Why not just start setting yourself up for success early on in your career? So when you do get out, I mean, just imagine, man. I don't know about you for yourself and your personal career where you're at and that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to divulge it out here on the internet or
Gee,
anything. Not like I think the last time, but
well, that's
um,
all right. Yeah, me and the boss had a conversation yesterday about that.
hey,
So,
good. Okay, good. I think I brought that up awkwardly at Tommy's retirement or something like that. So, anywho, but just imagine if we were 20 years younger, 15 years younger, and like the financial
oh
decisions, like
yeah,
when it came to transition, if we already had any side businesses that were producing residual income, if we already had like our side kind of like, all right, I know I'm going into project management, or I know I'm going to go into whatever gig, or hey, I don't want to work, I'm just going to be an investor and I'm just going to continue to invest. Could you imagine if we did that exponentially across the Air Force Special Warfare community, how freaking awesome it would be?
oh yeah,
And it would look a lot like the Navy SEAL Foundation and the Navy SEAL organization is exactly what they're doing, which, looking at them, it's like, yeah, they're doing exactly what we should be doing and what we need to be doing. Just right now we have, let's see, there's TACP Association, TACP Foundation. There's the Combat Control Associations and Foundations, PJ Association Foundations, and we're all doing great stuff, but we don't have that unified voice. So maybe I'm
yeah,
running an insurgency indirectly of trying to create the Air Force Special Warfare Foundation. I don't know. But I think it would be pretty great if we did kind of like unify our efforts because they're doing pretty incredible stuff. Um, to brag about them and just kind of some of the individuals I've talked with and engaged with. Yeah, like let's just say you have a business that you want to get started. How awesome it would be if, as the Air Force Foundation, Special Warfare Foundation, like, all right, Peaches, let me hook you up with like X amount of dollars. We're going to invest in you, and then you're going to give us a return on investment to the foundation, and it's just going to snowball,
yeah,
exponentially snowball. And it's getting people to think beyond the uniform. And I think right now, a lot of individuals, a lot of their identities is based on the uniform. I mean, think about it. I still remember the day when I got my black beret, and I'm like, yeah, this is awesome, that kind of stuff. And our identities turn into that, and then
yeah,
you kind of go down that path where your identity is more than just a uniform or a piece of accoutrement, a piece of flair, if you will. It's and we got a lot of Office references today, or the
yeah.
Office
I'll
Space
buy.
reference
Hey,
today.
fantastic movie. I'll keep it up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's just getting them to kind of look beyond just posturing yourself, and that's really what I see it like to what you're describing is I see it as posturing, like posturing yourself for success. So it kind of share it with you and with we'll see how this relationship, we're in the relationship building stages of it, but um I brought this up to my college professor of this idea, and she's like, oh, kind of like the player engagement program that the NFL does. And so I reached out to them through the Honor Foundation Network and some past alumni and got connected and was able to talk to some key individuals, and we're building that relationship right now, so where we can basically not reinvent the wheel, but kind of use some of the resources that they're willing to share with us
Mm,
in order to create this environment for Air Force Special Warfare to be able to go through. And at the end of the day, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like they're professional athletes. They have a huge level of camaraderie, probably some more than others, but they have this huge level of camaraderie, and then they're given a lot of money. Now, granted, they're given a lot more money than any Air Force Special Warfare operator is
yeah,
given. We probably get the same amount of money. They just do it in 2 years, where we have to do it in like 22. It's you 22 years, right? Um, but to that note, like it's they realized that they were giving them a lot of money and they weren't setting them up for success. So they
mm,
started investing them in their rookie years. So it's like their rookies program. And so I look at this going, yeah, if we should talk to our new graduates that are donning their berets and go, okay, hey, let's really sit down and do this. And maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's ad hoc, maybe it's something along those lines that kind of help out and get plugged in with them just along their career. And that's really that operator engagement, or TAP 2.0 or whatever the branding we're going to come up with, to really sell it and get these individuals to, because they're a lot smarter. Like let's just be honest, these young cats coming through, golly, they're smart, they're
mm-hmm.
driven, they're motivated. Like you'll find them probably working out on a Friday night, working out, going to the gym, and going to bed at 9:30, compared to when we were young. Their age, we're running
Yeah,
around, raising hell,
Doing stuff.
living yeah, doing stuff. There we go. Hood rat stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, that's really cool. On a side note, I sure hope, with the player engagement that the NFL is doing, I hope they're translating that down to the colleges now that some of those players are getting paid endorsements and stuff like that. Because can you imagine being 18, 19, and you're a superstar at name your
Yeah.
college, and you're rolling up in Lamborghinis now and stuff like that. And it's like, dude,
It's crazy. It's crazy.
and you're one injury away from all that being gone. So whatever debt you had, because you're not getting all that money up front. That is spaced out through years and that kind of stuff. So that front load of, all right, well, I'm gonna buy a mansion, I'm gonna buy an expensive car, I'm gonna,
Mhm.
it could go away quickly.
Right. Yeah, it really can. And then that's where even with Tony, with SEI ProDev Academy and everything else along the lines, we were talking about that of like, dude, just like I'll share a little insight. We had one particular got hit up for some support to attack P. And this is really kind of, I would say, if there was ever like a spark that caused this to be like, okay, we gotta adjust, we gotta go in this direction and do this now. So I got an email requesting for $600 and saying this was a financial hardship, this $600 plane ticket for this particular individual. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll support, but there's a bigger problem going on here. If this E5 is having a $600 financial hardship, like there's a bigger problem going on here than
Yeah.
just that. Like if we give you the money, cool, whatever, like we'll help you out and kind of put that fire out, I guess, to some degree. But what else is going on behind the scenes? Like what else is going on financially? What else is being a little bit more intrusive? And you know it, man. Like it's kind of weird how the Air Force side of the house, there's not a lot of that intrusive leadership that goes on. There's not a
No.
lot of like, hey, what's going on? What's happening? That kind of stuff. How's your family doing? That kind of things. I think we've had some leaders get a little bit better with that piece, but there was always this hesitation to like, oh, we can't make them do this, or we can't encourage them to do that. We can suggest it and let them, figure it out. And I'm like, okay, cool. Is that really leadership, or are you just managing? You know, because really that leadership's going to like, hey, I want to make sure the people that surrounded me that we're going to go and fight, they're 100% good to go and ready to tackle things. And even whenever they get out of the military, I care about them. Like you get a lot of leaders that are like, oh, I care about my people. I care about my people until they want to move on in their life and leave the Air Force or leave the unit and
And then
that
they
kind of
get
stuff.
pissy
And then it's
pants.
like, oh my gosh, right? Yeah. Or I'm going to make their life live in hell. Guess what? No more trips, no more TDYs. You're going to have to show up to report to work and do all this other kind of stuff. Literally heard people, that's their story. And I'm just like, okay, so you just use people. Got it. That's not
Yeesh.
really a surprise there to some degree. Now you do have great leaders out there, and you got a lot of other good leaders too. It's a full spectrum of it. Um, but I think there's been a lot, especially from the from our past, and especially in the association. What I'm hoping to bring is a lot less dependence on our senior leaders, and more of us actually taking and leading all these efforts. And what I mean by that is just the communication strategy. So one of the things we're shifting in our communication strategy is historically been we're going to talk to the SELs and the commanders and try to get like, hey, I know you're busy and I know you're working until probably 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and I know you're doing all this other stuff of leading an organization, but could you also be the mouthpiece for the association too? Could you also do this? Can you also message this? And it's just like, I was bringing this up. I'm like, this is not like efficient and effective at all. We're relying on one person who's already like just task saturated and trying to get as much done to be our like in into the actual organization. I'm like, we've got to do a better job at our messaging and our marketing and our branding. And so that's what we're doing. That's what that's one of the committees and one of the teams that we're putting together for the association right now. We just need help. I mean, it's an all volunteer organization. We don't have the funds to pay people and just coming up with the strategy. So we've got one guy, he's actually getting his, not his MBA, but his master's. He's doing his graduate studies on marketing. I'm like, hey,
Nice.
this would be a great case study for like actually marketing. So if you're learning something new in class and you want to try it out, like, dude, I'm game. Like I'm getting my MBA right now at Wake, and I'm seeing can I actually lead? Like I think I can, but can I lead in this private setting, in this private sector setting? And I'm taking stuff, dude. I'm learning from my MBA right now and applied it already, and trying to get like a little bit more organizational kind of structures and that kind of thing to help the team out. Because a lot of it, especially with volunteers, a lot of it they just want to know what to do. They're like, hey, I'm here to show up, I'm
Yeah.
here. Tell me what to do, and don't be afraid to tell me what to do, and give me like empower me to go do it. And so that's kind of like what the approach we're trying to take as our executive team and our board with all our committees. And so far, I mean, we're only what today's the 20th of January, so it's going well. It's going great.
Oh, did you
So
guys just
maybe
start
have me
this on
back
the
on.
first?
Yeah, no, we've been
Okay.
starting it. So we had our election of our board of directors and everything back in October with our roundup. And then I took over as presidency officially in January, but just getting the ground ready, right? So we've been doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff, getting things ready, building out kind of internal websites, processes, really codifying like how we're going to support something, what we're going to actually support versus just just really codifying a lot of things and really kind of professionalizing it. It's probably the best way to do it and share that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I heard you bring up Tony's name from SEI, but he's also, integrated with the PJ Foundation. So are all the foundations, I don't want to say finally, but just are all the foundations and associations kind of now going with a unified effort to try and tackle things?
You know, we're getting there. We're getting there. So Mike LaMonica has been, and I think he's been a linchpin to success with that piece. He's reached out and everybody's kind of bringing everybody together. Dre over at the Combat Control Foundation, I've actually got a meeting with her next week. We're getting it. We're going in that same direction. And even a lot of us are kind of looking around going, okay, how many presidents, vice presidents, secretaries,
Do
treasurers,
we
bank
need?
account do we actually need, right? How many times, and really this book pulls down to donors. So donors are kind of going like, hey, I just gave X amount of dollars to the PJ Foundation. Like now you want me to give money to you? Like, can we just give it to one place and just call it good? Um, but no, like it is going in that right direction. We typically have like one annual meeting where it's like the gathering of the foundations and associations, if you will. Um, but it's going in that direction. I think it's just you got a lot of people that man, they cling to that identity piece, and
Yeah.
it's just a transition phase, man. It's change, and a lot of people think that maybe you'll lose it, you'll lose something, and I'm kind of like, no, we gain a lot if we're unified. We gain a lot if we're unified, and I think
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of other
consolidation.
leaders, dude, absolutely, even just efficiency, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many you get too many presidents, you get 9 presidents in a room, like nothing's really going to happen. There's going to be a lot of talk, kind of thing, right? So but no, so like so that's kind of where Tony and I's relationship got plugged into, and we're really the Tony and I got connected through the Air Force Special Warfare TAP program, and we reached out. Now he did the fusion cell piece and everything else along the
Mm-hmm.
lines, and he's like, hey man, I've got this project that I want to do, and it's really like my baby. I really care about this. I really want to get our individuals like trained up and everything else like that. I said, okay, man, like let me sign an NDA and I'll give me access to everything. I want to see everything like content, all your stuff. So we did. And I'm like, give me a week and I'll do my business pitch on like how I would run it and what I would see, how I would do it. And man, so as I was going through all this different material and all this content and everything else, it dawned on me. So back when I was young staff sergeant Villalobos running around, Afghanistan as a battalion air liaison officer or BALO, I was going up against, and I say this loosely, but I was going up against and integrating and collaborating with like sergeant majors, with lieutenant colonels, with all these different like senior leaders, right? Because we're part of the staff kind of thing. Think about that though. Think about the professional development gap between a staff sergeant who's got Airman Leadership School and that sergeant major or that lieutenant colonel and everything else like that. And essentially, as I was upbringing, it's like basically it was like this. Hey, you don't let that sergeant major push you around. You tell him what you're going to do. And remember, you don't work for him. For some people, man, that's really good. Like I can work with it, that kind of stuff. I don't know how many TACP brothers that I had that they just bumped heads like crazy with their staff. And it's one of
Yeah.
those things going like, we almost set our guys up. No, not almost. We did set up our young Balos up for failure because we were putting them in a room in a space where good grit and personality is pretty much the only thing you went into the room with, not like advanced negotiations, knowing how to talk to people, not knowing how to like build team dynamics and understanding the storming phases or the different phases and everything else along those lines. And 9 times out of 10 when I did my PME piece, I would bring in my special warfare airmen. They were battlefield airmen called then because branding, right? Um, but I'd bring them into the room and they're like, and this is when I was at the NCO Academy and even at the senior NCO Academy, I'm like, all right, guys, give me some feedback. What do you think? I'm trying to run insurgency here to make this better. And they're like, no, Sergeant V, like we wish we had this earlier on in our careers. And these are our E6s going into E7 roles saying, I wish I had this early on in my career.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm like, okay, wow, there really is if ever there was a business case or a problem to solve, like that is a huge problem. And that's kind of one of the things when I gave him that pitch, that he's like, dude, spot on. You got it. You got the position. You're in there. So now I'm like doing the director for the SEI ProDev Academy and really putting that
Nice.
stuff together. Dude, it's awesome. I had a really cool, like, I really care about this stuff because I really believe, especially, I mean, the attrition rates of a special warfare airman going through and that kind of stuff. We just have a little something in the tank that not everybody else has.
Yeah.
And yet when we get out, a lot of them just fall back on those DoD contracting jobs or SIM jobs or different things along those lines, because maybe it's comfortable, and if that's what they want, that's okay. But golly, there is a staunch need for us, and the Honor Foundation really highlighted that. There's a staunch need for our just decision making, our ability to collaborate, network, and really make things happen. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's been kind of like the big thing with SEI ProDev Academy. So what's really cool about that, it's an adaptable style academy. So I reached out to one of my good friends saying, hey, look, man, I'm doing this. I'm trying to, just kind of not really sales, but just saying, hey, what's your needs? Seeing what the problems are out there. And I said, I got an idea for this class. It was what was the class on? It was basically on like organization and like how to actually like build an annual strategy and quarterly game plan kind of thing, right? He's like, that's cool, V, but dude, really? My guys just need troop leading procedures and basic military financial training. I said, all right, give me the weekend and I'll come up with a lesson plan for you and a curriculum for you to be able to go through that. Now with real world events that was going on, this was back in probably November timeframe. Real world events kind of forego the
Yeah.
opportunity to do that piece for them. But that's what we can do is we bring in, it's not just Ramiro sitting here talking, dude. We've got Harvard professors. We've got all kinds of like collegiate professors, like professional athletes and coaches that's won like championship games, that kind of stuff. That's all in our speaker society that we have, which is a pretty awesome thing too, where it's not just Ramiro. Like, don't take my word for it. Like, these individuals have done it. And this is how this translates into your day-to-day leading and troop leading procedures. Now, for that troop leading procedures, we've got a good solid ranger instructor that was going to come in and really break that down.
No one can
And I
teach
was
it
going
better.
to, yeah, like I can teach about like close air support, and now I'm starting to learn more about business. I can teach you that, but why would you want to learn, troop leading procedures from me when you can learn it from an actual like ranger instructor
Yep.
at your place? So that part's pretty awesome. We're doing an event, another epiphany moment too. I was getting ready to leave Colorado Springs and the commander reached out to me. He's like, this is actually a super cool moment. He reached out to me. He's like, hey, V, I know you're retired, but do you mind coming in and bringing some of your knowledge? We're getting ready to do our annual like planning session. I was like, first off, thank you. Like, thank you for considering me to bring in and speak to the ASOS or be there as a, what wisdom on that man's part, right? To sit there and say, hey, look, like, let's bring in some actual like outside people who have done some things and like bring them in just for their perspective too. And I thought that was huge on his part. But when I got there, Peaches, and this probably happens about every change of command or every like change of leadership with SELs, right? He had been in command probably about 4 months, 5 months, doing, typical kind of observation mode. And then he's ready to go into that, execution mode, right? Dude, I saw a lieutenant colonel trying to single-handedly lead a annual quarterly planning session, but also educate and train and develop and mentor, right? And that's typical standard air force. Well, that's what you should be doing as a lieutenant colonel and a squadron commander, is you should be teaching your people how to do that piece. But there's a difference between teaching and doing. And this man was doing both at the same time, trying to run through and execute it. And I was like, how cool would it be if have a 5-day offsite, day 0 is just your senior leaders, just your SELs, your director of operations, your superintendents, and your commander and whoever else, like your key leaders. Day 0, you really codify what's the mission and vision and like where are we going at the next 1 year, 2 years, right? What's the higher echelons? What are their goals? What are they getting after? What are they answering to? And if there's a vacuum and it's not there, that's okay too, because you can exploit that to say, hey, this is what we're doing, and a lack of guidance, you go and execute anyways, right? So how cool would it be if we come in on day 0, get all that information, and then we start going through a whole like, let's define the problems, let's define the areas, and then have the team there come up with the solutions. And oh, by the way, ProDev Academy is sitting here hosting it and creating all the products for you along the way. And now you can sit back as an SEL or a commander and you can sit back and actually participate versus, I mean, this guy, dude, like over here teaching here, do this, do that, and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, damn, like this is good, but it could be better. And so that's kind of one of the things that one of the things that we're looking at offering too, to help people out. Other things too, dude, like the PJ Foundation, man, they're doing awesome when it comes to resilience. And so they already had the SCI already had a program called Resilient Warrior, where
Hmm.
basically kind of how this process works, and we're looking at how we're going to be able to do this for the TACP Association and Foundation. But to my understanding, and don't quote me on this, but essentially the PJ Foundation is helping out the spouses go to these resilience events as well, which is huge because typically what happens is the member will go have this awesome camping like I did it. I went fly fishing in Wyoming, had an awesome experience. I come back just jazzed up and life's great and everything. And my wife's like, "That's great. I'm glad you had a great time. Well, the kids are sick, or this is broken, or
Yeah.
this happened, and this is what I've been dealing with. But hey, I'm glad you had a good time." And it's like, yeah, we're missing the mark there, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's a really cool thing that they're doing that piece, and really how do we replicate that? And it all comes down to funding. It all comes down to
Yeah.
organization and time.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that my wife has said. She's like, "Hey, yeah, I mean, you can go on these hunting excursions or ski trips or, yachting or whatever, whatever it is that's the flavor of the month kind of thing." She goes, "But you still got to come home and, you know, and what am I getting out of it? I'm just another trip that you've got to go on, and this is a
Hmm.
fun trip, not a work trip. So it's just
Yes,
a different kind of thing." And I'm like, "Oh, it's valid,
it's
but
pretty
you're
solid.
right though.
Yeah.
It's a funding thing too.
Oh, it
Is
really is. Well, especially whenever, for every donor dollar, there's something that they're donating to, or they should be donating to. And so if you're saying, hey, I gave this money, because you want to be good stewards with the money that's been donated to you, I gave this money to support a veteran going to this because I want to tell all my constituents that we're supporting this. Then it's like, okay, cool. We want to send their spouse too. We're like, we just want to help out the veteran.
yeah,
And so it's a messaging. It's all about messaging and branding, dude, and getting the word out there to what they're doing. But just huge props to the PJ Foundation. They're doing a really, really great job with that. And really that's what SEI ProDev Academy is looking to do. It's not just a PJ organization or combat control or TACP or special reconnaissance. We really look at like how do we help out our brothers and sisters in Air Force Special Warfare just to make their life better. I mean, could you imagine like that have that quarterly annual like set up when you took over leadership or took commander takes over command, that kind of thing? Like, could you imagine just having that already set up, already postured? Like, dude, that would be a
yeah,
no-brainer to do to help people out. Now you're getting a little bit more direction, mission, and guidance, and now that trickles down. And here's the reality of it: if you know where you're going, and I'm dealing with this with my with work, and I'm also helping out other companies and everything else like that. If you know where you're going, it's a lot easier to follow. It's a lot easier to execute. It's a lot easier. It's actually you have purpose whenever you show up to work and you know what you're doing. But if you're just kind of like aimlessly walking around the mall or what aimlessly just kind of like getting after and just kind of going and looking, yeah, it's cool and all. And I use that analogy right there, right? Like if I know I need to go to the mall because I want to go to, I don't know,
please say Hot Topic.
there,
Please
yeah,
say
because I
Hot
want to go to
Topic or
Hot Topic,
Spencer's.
right? I want to get a new like one of those chain necklaces or something
Yeah,
like that, right? Those stud necklaces. So I know that I'm going to go there. I'm going to get in. I know where it's at. I'm going to get out. Easy, right? There's no really questions. There's no doubt, and it's in and out. But if I know that I'm just going to go to the mall and just kind of walk around, it's cool. Maybe I'll find something, but really, there's no purpose there. There's no
yeah,
like drive. There's no energy there. If I know I'm going somewhere and I'm getting in, I'm getting out, there's a little bit more energy to make it happen. And so if we just look at that very weird and elementary example, and we translate that into like the associations, the foundations, and ProDev Academy of what we're trying to do there, we have clear cut purpose and mission and drive and everything else along those lines. Yeah, it's just going to make it so much easier for people to follow. And I think with this younger generation and even just people in general, like it's easier to jump on board with something if you know what they're doing and what they're about and when they're getting after, um,
yeah.
versus just not having that. So that's a lot of different things that we're looking to get along there and really just help that holistic person really do some great things.
Yeah, I think part of it is also we we have these ideas, right? And they're good ideas, and we're thinking like, okay, what if we could do this just call it an offsite, kind of
Yeah.
thing, and we could be in a Google type playground kind of office setting, and we could do this, and man, we'll come out so much better. We try and tackle 50 things instead of
Mm,
let's solve 5 things that are
yeah.
actually within our span of control. Not like,
Yeah.
man, I sure would love the Air Force or the DoD to not do this or to change this. Well, it's probably not realistic that that would change out of this offsite.
Hmm.
And if we did manage to change that big DoD or Air Force level thing, it's going to take some time. So
Sure.
yes, we should do that. We should create that massive organizational change. But for right now, let's focus on the 5 things or the 3 things, and let's really get after these problems. And then we'll solve additional ones if we have time or at the next event.
Yeah. Eh, So it's funny you bring that up. So that's exactly kind of the format we're following. So the Special Warfare Mission Support SWMS
Hmm.
summit is going to be scheduled in February. Dude, that's what we're doing. They basically they're like, hey, ProDev Academy, can you host this? And you got carte blanche. Just this is what we want to get after. So meeting with a couple of leaders and really diving down, like, hey, what do you want to get after this? Like, what do you want to see at the end result of this the swim summit? It's been pretty much like a lot of plain sheet of paper kind of open. Like,
Hmm.
we want to have a swim summit. We want to talk about some things. We want to have people come in. I'm like, okay, cool. So the first couple of days, man, it's career field managers, it's MatchCom managers. They're all going to come in and speak. And as they're speaking, I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself and you're getting a little bit behind the curtains here. So everybody listening here, this could be something that, we could do for you as well. But um, as they're speaking, it's going to be the so what, now what, or the what, so what, and now what approach. So how many times have you heard some guest speaker come in and talk, and it's like, oh, cool, awesome. Anyways, what's for lunch? Like, what are we doing next? That kind of thing, right? Um, or people go to these summits, right? There's so many different summits that we have
Yeah,
where it's a week long summit, and this is usually how and this is usually how it responds
I
work.
already know what you're gonna say.
You get back on Monday, and if you didn't do it over the weekend or on the flight, you go and check your email, and then somebody goes like, "Hey, Peaches, hey, how was that? How was that summit? What'd you get from it? Oh, it was cool. Had some people talk. We got some cool things going on, or you can't really actually like codify like the what, like what now?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like what are we getting after? That kind of thing. So that's what we're looking to do with this whole swim summit is really get in and say, okay, cool. Let's identify. It's funny you used 5. Let's identify some problems. We're looking at 5, and then they're actually during this summit they're going to break up into groups and problem solve those problems, and then they're going to brief those problems or those solutions, excuse me, to those said problems to their peers and an audience of people that can actually like give them feedback and ideas of what's going on. Now, will they actually be long-term solutions? Maybe, maybe not. We don't necessarily know yet, but we at least got to do something that's a little bit
Yeah.
more tangible. We're bringing in a professor that talks about advanced negotiations in this class. And so what he's bringing in, and I've already spoken to him, like, hey, this is what we're doing. Can you do this in a way of implementing change and negotiating with your peers, and how to do this in such a way where you can kind of quasi negotiate and really set the conditions for people to buy off on these solutions? So that's what we're bringing in that piece. Another one, Kevin Eastman, he's a Celtics championship coach, everything else like that. They
Okay.
coach LeBron James, all those kind of individuals. He's going to be doing a guest speaking as well, and he's going to be talking about like how do we manage change both for the individual and for the organization as a whole, and going through that piece. And that's going to be on our last day of that piece. So when everybody's done on that Friday and they go back to their units, they're going to have a workbook with everything discussed. They're going to have an actual like hopefully some kind of like, all right, now what do we do with this information? We just spent 5 days and 4 days on this summit. 4 days away from our families, away from our normal routines, away from everything else that we like back in our homes. So how are we going to get our return on investment of our time and go back and really help people understand what's going on? Because again, a lot of it's, oh shit, I got 150 emails. Let me go through these things. And then you get distracted on all these other different things that's going on, and you just wasted, thousands of dollars on
It's just
a summit.
fires. Just
Yeah,
fires putting them out.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, so that's pretty awesome in that piece, and that's really that's just the tip of the iceberg with the ProDev Academy of what we're getting after there. Um, So I'm pretty stoked to be a part of that, and really, really stoked to be kind of like organizing and putting a lot of these events on. We've got a couple other events going out throughout the year, but yeah, I just want to see that take off like wildfire and to really help out that, that young staff sergeant that's sitting there as that Balo talking to that sergeant major, like set him up for a lot of success, right? So yeah.
Yeah, well, he needs help getting set
Yeah.
up, really, because that sergeant major is going to have that ass.
Oh yeah. Especially if you, oh man, yeah. Yeah. Now I had a sergeant major once. He was awesome. This guy, we had a certain scenario where basically a young lieutenant that was motivated, but motivated in a lot of different realms. I'm not going to
Lots
get
of
into it.
thrust, but no vector.
Yeah, that and just a very like it was very clear that he was an officer, and then I was enlisted kind of approach to things.
Uh,
And but yet I was a Balo JTAC I and C, so cool story. I'm glad you went to college. Um, but they approached this particular individual because he was not really adapting to that particular fob's like standards.
mm,
And they approached him very professionally. They approached him like, "Hey, we get it, your Air Force. We recognize your Air Force." And this was the sergeant major and the squadron commanding officer, SCO. That was cavalry. They approached him saying, "Hey, we get it, you're an officer, and we get it, we're your Air Force, but like, could you please, while you're here, we know you're only here for a few days. Could you please, while you're here, just do these things for us?" Dude, he didn't. And then after like working a long day, I get like a beating on my door and like, "Hey, Sergeant V," and it's like, like the talk monkey kind of thing running, right? And runs up with my hooch and he's like, "Can you come in here? And you and this particular lieutenant come in here." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm like, "What, dude, what's going on? Like, what happened?" He's like, "I have no idea. I don't know what's going on." We get in there, we get our asses chewed by this SCO. And he's like threatening to kick him out, all this other kind of stuff like that. And he's yelling or whatever and that kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, like, let's go talk to Sergeant Major because he wanted to talk to us too. And dude, this Sergeant Major, this is where like I got kind of like the style of leadership. This guy takes his glasses off, very Don-like, sits back in his chair and is like, "Gentlemen, have a seat. Let's talk." And I'm just like, that was more scary than just getting my
you're
attitude.
like, oh
This guy
no,
was
here
getting
it comes.
yeah. And he's just like, let's just have a conversation. It's like, okay. So as we're walking out, I'm like, "Dude, you're shitting where I sleep. Like, stop this. You're going to be gone in 3 days and I still have to work with these people." Um, I'll go until the end of this. He ends up going back and takes the reporting instructions and like counters them. He ends up getting like kicked out of the talk and not allowed to work with them anymore. I was just like, why?
Jeez.
Why are you doing this? Because we had an awesome dude, like this particular cavalry squadron. We were at one part of the fob, and I'm like, "Hey, can we get me closer to talk just that way we can get like for response and everything?" They're like, "Yeah, we'll send some soldiers over there to move your stuff." And I'm like, "All right, that's kind of cool, sweet, thanks, appreciate it," because they were taking care of us, we were taking care of them. We had an awesome working relationship with these guys, and
Had.
well, well, they pretty much they still loved us, but they were kind of pissed. Like, "V, don't ever bring that shit into this fob again." I was like, "Roger that, Sergeant Major." Like, Roger that, SCO. But yeah, it was yeah, that was a crazy deployment, but. Yeah, man. So it's funny. Like I alluded to earlier, I've been out for a year now, and there's just so much that not regret. It's more lessons learned, right? There's so much where I look back on like the last 21 years, going, okay, what could I have done to really posture myself for success now? As I look at my kids, my son just turned 20, and so I'm taking a lot of these things and I'm applying to him. So, okay, cool, buddy. Let's talk finance. Uh, so he's doing great in school. My daughter's doing great in school, and then we started homeschooling our kids now. But it's really like, how do I set y'all up and posture y'all for success and really go that route? And the same thing for our community, being this president role, like how do I posture our members for
Hmm.
success? It's no longer the days of just the being drunk and it's partying and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. Like those days are done. Like, I mean, you can still go and have a good time. In which we still will. And, if we were sitting in probably your office, probably have a glass of whiskey right now if we were doing this in person kind of thing. But maybe not at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But
It's like,
uh,
oh, that's
mimosas,
rough.
right? Mimosas, yeah.
It's
But yeah.
it's almost 8 where I'm at.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Maybe some
Yeah,
what are those?
mimosas.
Yeah, mimosas or like the Bloody Marys or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But anywho, but yeah, just getting people to realize, man, like there's so much more to this life, and we can really make like an awesome impact. And the model's it's already there. Like
Yeah.
hell, it was there after World War II. After when World War II was over, I think I shared this last time, but like USAA, that's a product of veterans getting together, saying, "Hey, now what? What are
Yeah.
we doing next?" Right? the Article 15 guys and what they've done. Yeah, they're not even like the same, they're not even the same branch of service. And they're doing a lot of great things and a lot of great successful things there too. And
Yeah.
Navy SEAL Foundation, a lot of that stuff like that. So it's like, okay, cool. How are we capitalizing on our strengths? Or are we just trying to be too, worried about our own like individual identities kind of thing?
No, and there's a lot of give back. Like I'm meeting with Chachi Pachesa, I think here
Yeah.
in about 2 or 3 days, and he's part of the Black Rifle Coffee
Hmm.
Company's philanthropy department.
Yeah.
So he comes to Nellis. I mean, he travels all around, but he
Yeah.
comes to Nellis, and whatever he does, he stops by, gives out swag, shakes people's hands and that kind of stuff, and it's good, and that's what I noticed about a lot of these. Veteran made companies, if you will, is they want to give back. They can't give back enough. Um,
Right.
and it's like if our podcast made any money, like we would be giving back too, because we care about the communities and we care about the people that have gone before us, are in now, and will be coming in to Air Force Special Warfare. So,
Yeah.
we want to help. We want to do that kind of stuff. Um, but it's a part of it's having the time, but really it's more about kind of money, and I can appreciate hey, as a volunteer, show up, man. I'm already making decisions in it at work.
Hmm.
I'm here to volunteer, so I can appreciate just tell me what to do. Like, what do you need me to do? And I'll go do
Dude.
it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, first off, man, I love what you're doing with One's Ready. Like it's a huge like platform. It's speaking the word. It's capturing our stories. Not to quote like Sean Ryan so, but you're capturing our stories like from this piece. And I've looked at doing podcasts and stuff like that, dude. It's not just getting on a video camera and jumping on and just like
No,
talking. It's a lot more work that goes involved with this, and you do a lot of shows. So man, I'm impressed by what you're doing, and that's not just me. I'm that kind of person. I'm a
no, I
straight shooter.
appreciate it.
Man. Yeah, dude.
I'll
Like,
take the compliment.
yeah,
I got it.
yeah. No, it's solid, man. Like, you guys are doing a lot of work in that piece, and it's really like that's kind of where I see like my contribution to the association right now is just create that
Yeah,
organization, create that structure and that process where if we have donors come to us, one, we take care of our donors. Actually, uh, I learned this from JT. He sat down with us and we were talking. This was last year, and it's just resonated and stuck with me. So he donated a certain amount of money to a certain organization, and it was a good chunk of money, right? Nothing, it was a good chunk of money. And he's like, when the next time I heard from him, the next time they came out with their hand open and asking for money. And so it was a year later. So he basically it was every year they were coming in like, hey, can you give us money? Can you give us money? And I'm like,
ooh,
holy crap! Like,
very
yeah,
transactional.
very, very. And that's not what we want to do. And that's one of the things where what we're doing, and that's part of that CRM, that customer relationship management software and everything else like that. Like, tracking that, just saying thank you, or just saying, sending a thank you card or a plaque or something along those lines because we do appreciate it. We genuinely do
Yeah, yeah,
appreciate it, but it's just that follow through of just showing that appreciation to our donors and taking care of them. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are putting the money in the account. And yeah, I can get into all of that,
no, it's
like taking care of that.
100%, and that's actually something that it's having been on the receiving end of that. Just with some of the positions that I've held, right, or um, you won't hear somebody for a long time, and then all of a sudden you get something from them, and you're like, hmm,
Hmm.
I'll give it. I wonder what's about to follow here.
Yeah.
And then oh, here comes the text that's an
Yep.
ask or a phone call, and you're like, you know and I get it. It's tough. Like I am guilty of it too. Communication is a two-way street. It
Sure.
is difficult because life happens. You're doing a job, you're working foundation and association stuff, and you're working
Hmm.
SEI ProDev, and you know things happen, things get busy, people fall off your radar. It doesn't mean that you don't care about it, but people fall off the radar. It takes work to
It does.
stay connected and network. And if somebody falls off, that doesn't mean that they have, dismissed you or something like that. Maybe they just got a lot going on, and maybe you just need to, you know, say,
Reach
"Hey,
out.
just if so I have a habit of what I do is if somebody crosses my mind, right, just a fleeting thought, is
Hmm.
I will just if I have my phone on my I will pick up my phone and just send a text saying, "Hey, how's it going? Hope you're doing well." Like,
Dude, I do the
note,
exact same. I
that's
was
it.
getting ready to share that. I do the exact same thing. And it's
Just
it's it's
yeah,
kind of out of the blue, just kind of like, oh, actually one of the guys who did my jump master evaluation, I just did that. I reached out to him saying, man, like this is 10 years ago. Like, thank you. Thank you for your like the way you conduct yourself. It was professional. It was good. Like just kind of reflecting on that. And then, you never know what's on the other end, where they're at, like, where their heart's at, where their head's at, kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's solid. That's solid, man. I do the same thing. And what's cool about that is I'm now not asking for something.
yeah,
Like I had it was kind of funny. I just did this with my coach from the Honor Foundation. Dude, he threw me off like big time because during our like meetup, we hadn't talked in over a year, and he's like, "Okay, so what can I do for you? How
you're
can I
like,
help?" I'm like, dude, I was just genuinely reaching out just to reconnect because it's been a year and we haven't really talked too much, and I just want to see how you're doing and just check in on you and just kind of share
yeah,
where I'm at and how your coaching impacted and where I'm at today. And yeah, so it definitely throws, and that's a good piece. Probably just doing that because that's what he does. He wants to help people out, kind of thing. But yeah, man,
yeah,
that's such a big thing to do and be there for, and that really goes into that resiliency aspect of things, right? For
oh
people,
yeah,
knowing that you care is
yeah.
huge.
Well, and if they do, like, you need to be prepared because sometimes you will get a, actually, I'm not doing well at all, and
Hmm.
here it goes, and it's like, okay, man, well, I text you and I took the time to text you or call you or email you, whatever it is, because I thought about you. So now I'm ready, man. What you got?
Right?
Like, how can I
Yeah,
help? You
yeah.
know,
You can't be like, "Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that." Anyways, just
bro, that
talk to you
sucks.
later.
Later.
Good luck. Yeah,
Yeah, sucks to be
yeah,
you.
yeah. Yeah, you can't really go that route. You
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
definitely be genuine. And I think we have a lot of people out there that are hurting. We have a lot of people out there um that are conquering too. And I think that's
yeah,
just because you take the uniform off and everything doesn't mean that warrior spirit kind of thing goes away. Like you still gotta go and tackle and conquer things. And yeah, no, so that's kind of what I'm trying to do and just get at and tackle life. Actually, it was kind of funny on that note. One of my teammates within the association, we were talking about we're going to start putting out our bulletin again, and we're going back and forth, and I'm just like knees deep in assessments and everything that I'm doing for the job kind of thing, and he's like, "Hey man, just take some time off for yourself this weekend too," and I was like, "Well, um, what did I say to him? I said something like to the degree of um, when you're living your life, basically." It doesn't matter. I don't need to read. Like, here you go, found it. Yeah, he says, "Okay, sounds good. Take some time off this weekend too for a break and have a good weekend, bud." And I was like, "Yeah, my weekend's full of, podcasts, community meetings, birthday parties, that kind of stuff." I'm like, "When you do what you want, weekends are no longer a thing. Just treat it
yeah,
every day that you're going to live your life and live your life to the fullest." And that's really, man, like as for our members that are getting out of the military, we didn't really have weekends, especially when we were deployed. That was always kind of funny things. Like it blew my mind when like what was it, like the military personnel center was closed on like
was
Sunday or
closed
something. I'm
on
like, what are they
where?
doing? Like they're going to
Yeah,
the Kandahar Club or something?
yeah,
Like what? Like no, we're closed. Yeah, yeah. Salsa night Thursday nights at
yeah.
Bagram, right? Never went to that.
No,
Never went to that. Saw it
no,
advertised a lot. And maybe that's what people had to do. I don't know. Not for me. Um, but dude, that's just getting people to like recognize and getting our teammates, right, to recognize, hey, look, like you took the uniform off, like don't go to Fort Living Room and just lay around and die. Like go live your life to the fullest now. Like you got all this
yeah,
opportunity to go do great things. And and you're just more than just your identity as a beret wearer.
yeah,
And even for our swim folks, you're more than just, your identity of being in the military. Although it's, I look back on it, man, there are times, and not too many, but there are times when I miss, like I see some of my buddies, like they did go in some of those contract gigs and they're wearing like kit and they're out there with the boys and doing the job and everything else like that. I'm like, okay, I do miss having the old killing suit on and, getting after things. I do miss that piece. I do miss out the camaraderie or even just the whole throwing rocks at something, waiting for aircraft to check in, the classic, that kind of stuff. So I do miss that aspect of it. But Man, I tell you what though, it's such a big world out there, and even that
Yeah.
transition into the private sector, dude, it's different. I'm not going to get too much on this podcast and on things on the official record for the internet, but yeah, there's some. It is a different world out there working
Yeah.
in strictly private sector, and I think that a lot of our industry out there wants our ability to be straightforward, honest, to the point, and direct. And then when we show up and we're straightforward, honest, and direct, it's intimidating. Um,
Yeah. It can be taken the wrong way.
yeah, exactly right. So just having to navigate the language, navigating the approach, um, is usually a good thing. But yeah, that'll be for another podcast, maybe in a month or so. Yeah,
No, that's awesome, man. Well, it sounds like you're doing good. You're definitely doing good things out there. For the Air Force Special Warfare TAPS, man, I still can't shake this cough. The TACP Association, and obviously the subsequent foundations. Well, I guess they're not subsequent, but the follow-on foundations and stuff like that. And then I think it's awesome that you're giving back still with SEI ProDev. So I appreciate it, man. Thanks for giving back and doing everything you do for those that have served, are serving, and will be serving.
absolutely, man. My pleasure. It's a joy. I get excited about it, right? Just to be able to help people out, and then it's also too showcasing for my own things. It's like yeah, I don't get paid for this, but it's one thing to go to school for something. I get the opportunity to go to school and actually directly apply it to see, like I've got my own case study that's working out. And by the way, dude, I don't know if your college background experience of like online versus in person. So yeah, I think this was around the time frame I started my online for my MBA online for Wake Forest or whatever. Dude, the first week I'm in class and it's like, hey, Peaches, that's a really good idea. Have according to this, yada, 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 for the discussion board post. I was like, no. Like, what was that, Vince McMahon? Like, no, I'm not doing this. This is not what I want my graduate experience to be. Man, it was pretty awful. And not in the bad on the institution's sake. It's just for myself. I'd done my undergrad all
Yeah.
online. And so I'm like, I actually want to sit in. And dude, we moved to North Carolina. We're in Winston-Salem. We're going to Wake Forest University in person at Winston. And man, just having those surreal moments of sitting in class and actually like having a group of peers. Now, I am kind of one of the old guys. I'm not the oldest guy in the room, so that's pretty sweet.
The
I thought
professor
I was
is.
the oldest
That's
guy,
fine.
and then like, what's that?
The professor is.
Yeah. No, there's a couple older gentlemen in there, but no, like it's just cool to like, I don't know, just sit back and just learn and sit back and
Yeah.
just hear a lecture and actually apply the concepts. And I will say business analytics is challenging, but I think I'm going to end up switching my major to like MBA with an emphasis on business analytics. Just because, man, at the end of the day, data is what sells. Data is
Yeah.
what it's about. You can have your theories and be a good speaker all day long, but if you don't have the data to back it up, it's just hot air. So,
No, I'm with you.
yeah,
Well, awesome, man. Well, we'll close it up. And again, thanks for what you're doing. Appreciate you coming on, sharing the stories, sharing all the goodness. And then yeah, whenever you got something else pop up that you want to tout, like come on on.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It'll be the Air Force Special Warfare Foundation kickoff. No, I'm kidding. But
Yeah,
that actually,
I
it's been
like
discussed. I don't
you're
think.
just setting conditions. That's all we're
Just say
doing.
it, yeah. Speak it into existence, right? Is that one of the things, right? Just say it, and then
It
people are
is.
just, yeah. There we go.
That's how
Um,
I planted seeds with all my assignments and just kind of plant a seed about 2 years beforehand
yeah,
and just kindly grow it. And then
nice.
it hasn't always worked out, but it's done okay for me. So
Yeah, right on.
yeah. All right.
Right
So
on, man. Well,
everybody
thank you,
that's
brother.
out there, oh, absolutely. Everybody that's out there, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that review, or hit that notification bell. Leave us a review. Check us out at onesready.com. Buy a flag, buy a shirt. You can also get a Tackle Elite gear out there. So if you're in prep for any of the pipelines, they've got fins, ropes, masks, snorkels, all that kind of good stuff on there. So check them out at onesready.com. So, all right, we're out here. Later.
Awesome.